Let's take the instance of being a heart surgeon. We've all been accused at one point or another of being, cut and dry, black and white, headstrong, prima donnas even. But you think about it, there's no quicker way to lose a patient in all of medicine than making a mistake in heart surgery. Literally speaking, a millisecond in an 8-hour operation, a millisecond of distraction or a misjudgment can lead to irrevocable, irreversible destruction in the operating. As any heart surgeon would be told, need to work on soft skills to get into the magical kingdom of leadership. And I spent a lot of time struggling with that because there were a lot of people that I saw in leadership that so-called had the soft skills, but you could basically call them schmoozing skills or kissing butt skills or politically motivated skills. And I just wasn't willing to go there. So after a lot of thinking and growing, I'll fast forward through my transition here, my leadership development at Mayo, my transition here into Chief of Medical Operations, Chief of Staff, where I had to hire physicians from around the world and bring on their families and their children and take care of them as family, and then to CEO. I've settled on a very simple tripartite paradigm. We always hire for competence, that's a given. So any clinician, surgeon, nurse, technician we hire here, we always say, listen, you're here because you're competent. We hire you in Cleveland or Mayo for these skills. That gets you in the door. That gets you on the airplane for the interview. And by the way, we interview everybody at main campus. We won't hire anybody here who wouldn't be hired in Cleveland. But I said we have grander expectations of those we hire. We have broader criteria, and I just want to be very honest with you. I tell them when I'm interviewing them, I value as much, if not more. In fact, I do value more character and compassion. Now, people have different versions of this paradigm, but for me, this is what character means. It's highlighted in our leadership you see in the media. Any problem in leadership in the media right now, with politics, with global leadership, with countries or societies or communities not getting along, can be, in my view, can most often be boiled down into values and behaviors, and thus character. And therefore, if you summarize that under the heading, under the broad band of character, and really dig into what it means to have appropriate character to be a leader, then I think that will set the North Star for our organizations, our communities, and our countries. So character is very important, as it is for the people we hire here and leaders in the organization. The third is compassion. And this is where I like to go with the narrative around soft skills. Because you think about it, it's not the BSing or the schmoozing you want to prioritize. You want to prioritize empathy and compassion. Whatever word you want to utilize, they're all surrounding the same skill set, the same human characteristic. And that is sitting across from Jeff, understanding what his goals are today from this interview, and then trying to get into that dance of back and forth such that I get my point across, you get your point across, and we build on this narrative until finally we come away with something that's beautiful to us both. So competence, character, and the compassion to be able to get into that dialogue, that narrative, that it's essential for any leader to be successful. That, in my view, summarizes how we've recruited at Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi and the advice I tell any leader who's passionate about making a difference in the world. First day at Mayo Clinic, I walked down the hallways and it was like a textbook of cardiac surgery. I mean, every operation I'd ever read about was being done on that day. Any operating room that you'd want, when you'd fight for in Canada, it was available for you. And I realized that this is a platform that was going to be my blank canvas as a surgeon, as a leader, and as an innovator. And if I didn't accomplish something remarkable, I had only myself to blame. And that's a pivotal insight that I would draw to the forefront of the attention of all ambitious leaders, whatever field they're in. You have to immerse yourself in a milieu where you feel like you have a blank canvas. All the resources are there for you to glean out and bring into the equation. but the only thing stopping your productivity or your ability to accomplish is what's between your two ears. But there are two things that are different about the Mayo Clinic that Cleveland had. Number one, it had an innovative spirit. Innovation is one of the core values at the Cleveland Clinic. And this comes up in very, very many ways for those who are at Mayo Clinic, for instance. Many Mayo clinicians are okay with, we're not first, but we're going to take something and and do it more than anybody else in the world potentially, and make it even better. That's a very different place to live for an innovator than the Cleveland Clinic, led by Toby and Tom and others in the history, where you're taking something that's never before been done, imagining what that looks like, leaning into it, taking the risk of failure, the risk of success, but then when you get that early success, sticking with it during the inevitable, challenge, decline, criticisms, etc., to perfect it to the point where it's now generalizable across the population or nation or the world. That was different about the Cleveland Clinic, is that spirit of innovation and the support that's received at the highest level to make that happen.